Hi, Piers, and thank you for having me. I've spent the last 2 weeks on the ground, first in Kashmir after the terror attack that triggered this entire situation, military escalation between India and Pakistan, and then in the states of Punjab as well as the area of Jammu. The reason I mention this is because it's been absolutely shocking what I have witnessed in the last few days. Pakistan. Which was seething because India attacked terrorist bases inside its territory, tried to target civilian areas and places of worship inside Indian territory. This led the Indian military to target their air bases. When their air bases took serious damage is when Pakistan dialed Indian officials here and asked for a ceasefire. This is the exact sequence of events. Before Hina Rabani Khar gives her perspective, I heard the tail end of your conversation with General Clark. And I have to say, as an Indian, I am just so exhausted, bored, and irritated by the both sidism that the Western world and the Western media imposes on jihadist terrorism. The two bases that were targeted by India were the headquarters of the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed. The Lashkar-e-Taiba is recognized as a terrorist group by the United Kingdom and the United States. Forget India. Since 2001, the UK has recognized the Lashkar-e-Taiba as a terrorist group. The Jaish-e-Mohammed, the terrorist who heads it, was released after an Indian plane was hijacked in called IC-814 in 1999, and the terrorists who hijacked it demanded the release of this man who continues to enjoy impunity and freedom in Pakistan. And one last point, there was a terrorist, a British Pakistani national called Omar Saeed Sheikh. He was one of the three terrorists released who's in Pakistan who went on to assassinate and behead Daniel Pearl. Omar Saeed Sheikh is still in a Pakistan safe house after he was acquitted of the murder of Daniel Pearl by Pakistan's Supreme Court. We're talking about terrorism here. We're not talking about some both sidism, some dispute, some Kashmir issue that can't be resolved. This is jihadist terrorism, patronized and literally grown and looked after and nurtured and watered by the Pakistan Army.
This statement reveals the tension surrounding terrorism's political use, exposing how narratives shape international perceptions. The framing of Pakistan as a state sponsor of terrorism underlines the hypocrisy in geopolitical alliances where economic interests often trump human rights.
Okay, well, as you've been talking, the Indian Prime Minister Modi has been speaking. He said India is clear, terror and talks cannot take place at the same time, terror and trade cannot take place at the same time, and water and blood can't flow at the same time. I want to tell the world community this has been our promise. If talks take place with Pakistan, it will only be about terrorism. If we talk to Pakistan, it will only be about Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. So let me bring in Hina Rabani Khar. So what's your response both to what Barker has said, but also to what Prime Minister Modi is saying?
Okay, I think first of all, I just have to say that as I appear in front of you, trying to make sense of what happened in the last 2 weeks, I appear as a proud Pakistani and representing a proud nation which showed a lot of dignity up against extreme aggression, violence, illegal attacks into our territory within the geographical locations of Pakistan by a nuclear power, a belligerent, what I have always consistently called a rogue state, and I can give you very good reasons for that. Because as any representative, and also, Pierre, I think I need to clarify, I do not give version of events. I'm not a journalist. I have served the state of Pakistan, and I will continue to serve. I continue to serve the state of Pakistan as the chairperson of the Foreign Relations Committee. So I will have to align myself to facts on the ground, to how things appeared, how things happened, not what my narrative of that is. Because we've seen a lot of narrative shaping by placing two women, one Muslim, to try and give the version, but by trying to bring in Daniel Pearl, to try and get international sympathy. I, for one, am a Pakistani who absolutely does not seek any hyphenation with India. because it is generally believed that Pakistan always seeks to be hyphened with India because Pakistan wants to be at par with India. We absolutely do not want to at all be hyphened with a country which feels that it can declare war, it can declare terrorist to exist somewhere and then go and launch strikes across international borders without getting any, first of all, without any providing any evidence, not to the country alone, but even to the international community, even to the United Nations, and feels that because it has said so, it no more operates within the realm of international law, within the realm of UN Charter. It operates as a unilateral striker, judge, jury, executor, as it did in the case of Canada, which we know has been, India has been found, with their red-handed.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
People.
I mean,
So
out of interest, let me ask you a question though. How should India have responded to the murder of 27 of its people?
Why are you not asking me the question, how should Pakistan have responded to the murder of its people in Jafar Express in Balochistan, which had India's fingerprints all over it? So this
well,
assumption.
Why don't you answer my question first, and then we can come to other questions later.
I will absolutely
we're
answer
talking
your
about
question because
we're talking about the catalyst for what happened in the last 2 weeks was the
terrorist
attack and murder of 27 mostly Hindu men. And my question is simply, how should India have responded that you would have found acceptable?
So I like your assumption that there is no equivalence between Pakistanis being murdered.
When did I assume? When have I made any such assumption at all?
Because you seek an explanation from Pakistan, and I guess the world seeks
well, no, we're talking specifically about what's happened in the last 2 weeks. I think it's not. Well, look.
I think if you want to speak over me, I can allow you to do that.
I don't like it. Honestly, I don't like it when guests start to play whataboutery too early in the debate. I brought you guys together to debate what's happened in the last 2 weeks, not the whole history of the conflicts between India and Pakistan or any of that. I'm talking about what's happened as a direct result of a terrorist attack that killed 27 mainly Hindu men. And I'm simply asking you, if you were in India's shoes, how should they have responded to that? If you are against the way they did respond?
I have been in India's shoes, and I think that is where I'm talking factually rather than, based on narrative shaping. I have been in India's shoes. I have had terrorist incidents in Pakistan where India's fingerprints have been all around. And I would have expected, to answer your question directly, I would have expected India to act like Pakistan acted when Pakistan finds evidence of India's fingerprints all over disastrous terrorist attacks inside Pakistan's territory. It is to provide evidence to the United Nations. It is to provide evidence to the other country, and to, first of all, I think, and that's why I would be with you, Pierre, because I do not want this debate at all to, sink into the, into this he said, she said. I represent a country, and I certainly represent my person to be someone who seeks normalcy, peaceful coexistence, and mutual prosperity for the two countries. But if one country amongst the two believes that it has the unilateral strike to go outside of the realm of international law and unilaterally carry out strikes without even feeling the need to provide any evidence, and break one line before in Balakot strike, and then decide that it is now trying to set a new norm. Now that norm that it was now trying to set has been cut to pieces. That whole
okay, well, let me bring. All right, all right, I've given you a good time to respond. Let me bring in Barker again. I mean, what is your response to that?
A statement and a question. Hina said that Pakistan does not seek any equivalence with India, any parallels with India. There can be none. Pakistan just got bailed out by the IMF with a loan for $1 billion. The IMF projects India to be the fourth largest economy in the world. India would love to ignore Pakistan if we could. India seeks no hyphenation with Pakistan either. I have two questions for Hina Rabani Khar. One is, does she acknowledge the Lashkar-e-Taiba recognized to be a terrorist group by the United States and the
This bold claim disrupts the established narrative, suggesting a shift in military dynamics between the two nations. It emphasizes the ongoing struggle for power and influence in the region, questioning the validity of historical military supremacy, and hinting at a potential recalibration of international alliances.
Recognized to be the group responsible for the Mumbai terror attacks of 26/11, in which 6 Americans died. Does she recognize both these groups to be terror groups? And if she does, can she explain why they have never conducted a single terror strike within Pakistan and have only conducted terror strikes in India? My second question to Hina Rabbani Khar is, what did she feel about the Americans coming in and taking out Osama bin Laden from Abbottabad, where he was given a safe space to stay? If she did not think the Americans conducted an act of war against Pakistan then, she should not think that the Indians striking the bases of the Lashkar-e-Taiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed prescribed internationally recognized terror groups should be considered something that Pakistan has to worry about. Pakistan should thank India.
Okay.
We helped you demolish terror groups.
All right, let me get the response then. Hina, your response.
Look, Pierre, I'm sorry, it is fast, becoming what I had feared it would become, because sitting across the table or across the Zoom link with an Indian journalist who just claimed that Karachi port had been attacked and decimated, and who still probably has that tweet on her timeline, is beyond.
And guess
I think what has
the
been
details,
on display over here. I would like to speak if possible, otherwise I would like to please exit this program.
You are misrepresenting me. No, man, you don't have good answers. You don't have good answers.
And I'm not going to ask her what happened about the terrorist who killed Pakistanis, 40 Pakistanis in Samjhota Express, who have actually been acquitted by Indian courts. So this, I think you should get an Indian, an Indian journalist against an Indian journalist, because what they have displayed about their norms of, reporting and about the dignified way and about concocting stories has been on open display. And Pierre, allow me to say this. Pakistan, clearly, India's GDP is 11 times that of Pakistan. That's a reality. Pakistan is going through economic trouble. That's a reality. But when the war theater comes, and there is an assumption of India being the net security provider for the entire hemisphere, a certain hemisphere, and then when the war theater comes, and we find out that one of the players in the war theater has a tendency to leave both its equipment and its people into our territory. And then, even till today, the Indian military forces have not accepted the fact that they had losses of Rafale and other jets. We are not here to win a war. We did not start this battle. We have no intention of continuing this at all. We, however, have to be very, very clear that Pakistan is a country which has broken the myth of Indian conventional supremacy in war theater.
This bold claim disrupts the established narrative, suggesting a shift in military dynamics between the two nations. It emphasizes the ongoing struggle for power and influence in the region, questioning the validity of historical military supremacy, and hinting at a potential recalibration of international alliances.
In a way which is that display to the whole world. We also want to make sure, and I think it has been understood, and that's why the clamoring for the ceasefire as quickly as it did as soon as Pakistan started its strike. What has been clarified is Pakistan does not only have the capacity, but also the will to be able to respond in kind. And therefore, this adventure that India went on wanting to rewrite the rules of the game outside of the realm of international law, I think India, I would not want anyone to be bloody-nosed or to get a bad reality check. But I think what has been clarified that this whole pretense of, dominance in the conventional field, you can have toys, really expensive ones, but you really need people to be able to get the best out of those toys. And I think what we saw in the war theater is for everyone to see.
But you didn't answer the question.
Well, hang on. Time out.
Please let me answer, then both of you can ask as many questions as you wish, and I will stay there to answer it. I think the other myth that has been broken is the whole question of India having the ability, just because of its economic, prowess, having the ability to be able to launch strikes into another nuclear state and not expecting a response. And once the response came, having the complete inability, it was literally a breakdown of Indian defense system, not having the ability to defend
Well, you know the
itself.
strange
So
thing
what was
about
holding,
this. Listen,
what was
listen,
holding
Hina,
India's
you can't just keep
pretense
talking.
of
Hina,
military supremacy
look, Hina,
was
with respect,
Pakistan's resolve not to
with
retaliate.
respect, this thing
and
is
once
all.
we retaliate,
Look, if
all
I
of
could
that
just state
pretense
the
goes
bleeding
into
obvious to
ashes.
you. Look, both sides are claiming total dominance. Both sides are claiming total victory. Both sides are claiming the other side is back in its box where
We are
it
not
belongs.
seeking dominance. though.
Both
I
sides
just want to
claims the rights to Kashmir and so on. So we have what I would call a very strange situation where everyone's claiming total victory on the other side, but you can't both be right.
But are the Lashkar and Jaish terrorist groups? She didn't answer the question. Does she acknowledge that the Lashkar and the Jaish are terrorist groups that have freedom to function in Pakistan? Please answer the question.
I think that's a
This is
legitimate
the
question. Hina,
narrative
do
you've been
you
cooking up
accept
for the
that
last
point,
20
Hina?
years. I will not stoop
Are
myself
they
down to
terrorist
answering
groups?
any such
Are
questions.
they terrorist
on
groups?
those.
Hina, do you accept?
Our
Hina, do you
narrative
accept they
has
are a
to
terrorist
probably
group?
what you want to look at.
Well,
And I'm
Hina,
not
let me
going to
ask the
talk over anyone.
question.
I think you need to bring
Hina,
some
let me
discipline in
ask the
this
question. Hina,
Yes,
do you
please.
accept that
Would
they
you
are a
like to do
terrorist
that?
group, and do you accept that they have been operating with impunity in Pakistan? I mean, that's.
I think your last comment, I would absolutely reject. I think Pakistan is the country which is trying to correct the wrongs. India is the country which is trying to do the wrongs. There's a vast difference. You can narrative shape as much as you want and build these lovely stories about, So okay, Pierre, how about me saying that I believe India is a country which has weaponized terrorism to be able to get the sympathies of the world to work outside of international law. And they've done it rather effectively. And I think they played the China containment bit quite. And we do not seek dominance. I want to clarify this. Pakistan genuinely seeks dialogue. Pakistan genuinely seeks negotiation. Pakistan genuinely seeks a peaceful coexistence. But if you say that, the Security Council resolutions claim Kashmir to be disputed territory, but now Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that it is an integral part of India and not Pakistan and everybody else. President Trump, is he wrong when he says he wants to come in and solve this dispute? It is disputed territory and will remain disputed territory until we're able to sit down and resolve it.
Okay, listen. Okay, hang on. I want to bring in two other guests to join this debate. Ranveer Alabadia, who is the host of the Ranveer Show. Shahzad Gias Sheikh from the Pakistan Experience podcast. Welcome to both of you. Look, Ranveer, I don't have a horse in this race, okay? I don't think anybody outside of India and Pakistan has a horse in this race. So when I see both sides claiming victory and this sort of sea of disinformation that's been spread about who did what to whom and what planes were shot down and what weren't shot down and so on, pilots being captured, weren't they? It's very hard to work out what the truth is. The good news is the shooting seems to have stopped, and it appears to have been a lot to do with the United States offering some new trade arrangements to both countries to try and bring them to a ceasefire, which is what's happened. Now, I mean, A, do you believe that? And B, if that is not the case, why do you think the shooting has stopped?
Okay, firstly, I would like to greet the world and present the objective truth. I'm here to present proofs, facts, and figures. Donald Trump claimed that he was responsible for the ceasefire, and Pakistan proceeded to break the ceasefire about an hour after it was announced. My question to the world is about this man. I hope everyone's able to see this person's face. He was found 800 meters from a military base in Pakistan. That's the face that the world recognizes. This is the face that India recognizes because it's most specific to our narrative. This man is a UN-designated terrorist being celebrated by the Pakistani military in the background. That's not the narrative that they give the Pakistanis. That's not the narrative that the world knows. But if you check with the UN, if you check with the US, they'll tell you that this is Abdul Rauf. India's attacks were precision-oriented, moderate, and most importantly, they were simply a retaliation as they've always been. India's never been an aggressor in any of these situations. We export vaccines, we export philosophy, and we export engineers and leaders to the world. That's why our economy is 11 times the size of Pakistan. But the Pakistani narrative is that, hey, look at these people. They're trying to get the world to sympathize with them. Pierce, my question is to you. You've seen the objective facts and figures. What do you feel about this whole situation? The world only knows this person. India has a list just like people like this man.
Ranveer, my question for you would be that you posted something on Instagram, which I found very interesting, but you then deleted it, seemingly after the backlash that it attracted. So for those who didn't see it, let me just remind people of what you said. Dear Pakistani brothers and sisters, I will get hate from many Indians for this, but it's important to be said. Just like many Indians, I don't have hate in my heart for you. Many of us want peace as well. Whenever we meet Pakistanis, you invariably welcome us with love. But your country is not run by government. It's run by your military and your secret service, the ISI. The average Pakistani is very different than these two bodies. The average Pakistani has dreams of peace and prosperity in their hearts. These two villains have hurt your economy since independence. They've also constantly been responsible for terrorist attacks in India. Proofs in the next slide. I mean, first of all, why did you delete that?
I deleted it because the ceasefire was broken and Pakistan just gave us another reason to not trust the entire state once again. Even if you try having a conversation with Pakistanis, they respond with, hey, where's the proof about the Pahalgam attack? My question is that, have you studied what the world is saying about your country? Have you seen the economy of your own country? It's very important to understand that the Indian armed forces simply retaliated to the action of the Pakistanis. I have no narrative other than the one that the world should know. We are combating terrorism because if India exports vaccines and engineers, Pakistan exports terrorism. We're doing a favor to all our civilians. We're protecting our civilians, but truth be told, we're protecting humanity because Pakistan has become the terror hub of the world. This is not an Indian narrative. This is the narrative that the world should know.
Okay, well, let me get Shehzad to respond here. Shehzad, your response to that?
Thank you, Piers, for inviting me. First of all, for an international audience, I think it's quite clear to see compared to Hina Rabbani's poise and grace, Barkha Dutt's theatrics. I think nothing has gone down faster than a Rafale and Barkha Dutt's credibility throughout this entire process. She first reported about Karachi.
Except the F-16 that India shot down, the naval bases that were demolished. No answer
Barkha, you're welcome to make a million expressions while I talk, but you will let me finish. It is rather sad to see a once credible journalist getting reduced to Arnab Goswami in a
Don't need certificates. Don't need certificates from members of a terrorist state.
All right, let's quote you then. Barkha Dutt 15 years ago said, Ranveer, you can bring your pictures any day that you want. I'll come to your facts and figures. But let me just quote Barkha Dutt on this. 15 years ago, the same Barkha Dutt said that the prejudiced administrative and political system is not letting her name that the Prime Minister of India right now, Narendra Modi, is attacking Muslims. If we're going to talk about international organizations labeling somebody a terrorist, Narendra Modi was labeled a threat to religious freedoms around the world and was
by whom?
Visa was revoked.
By whom?
The difference
by whom?
By the United States of America. Barkha Dutt, you know this. You're only playing to an audience. You said a Pakistani pilot was arrested and captured, which turned out to be a lie. But once the YouTube dollars come in, maybe fact goes out of the window. So let's talk about facts. Narendra Modi was involved in Gujarat.
Let's talk about facts.
Pakistan and India is we capture our terrorists. We do not elect them.
Don't talk over each other. Don't talk over each other. No one can hear you when you do that.
Barkha Dutt has spoken for half an hour. I have a right to respond. Ranveer Allabadia decided to interject. He's had BJP people on his podcast. I'm not talking about the state in general. I'm talking about Ranveer Allabadia specifically. I've now figured out why he's called beer biases, because what he said sounds like the most drunk shit I've heard in my life. This is what happens when you repeat government talking points without reading. The Bin Laden papers were not released by the DGISPR, by Pakistan. They were released by the American intelligence. 470,000 papers, which a book was written by Nellie Lahoud, which clearly states that Osama bin Laden was trying to hide from the Pakistani intelligence. What you're pointing out with Osama bin Laden...
hang on. Shehzad, hang on.
Is an intelligence failure.
Wait. Shehzad, sorry, hang on.
This is turning into a comedy show.
Sorry, I moderate this. Shehzad, sorry, with the best will in the world, what you've just said is utterly ludicrous. Osama bin Laden was found literally living in a house for years, a few hundred yards from one of Pakistan's main military bases. So if your intelligence didn't know he was there, it must be de facto the worst intelligence in the history of military intelligence. All they had to do was get a pair of binoculars and they would have found the most wanted terrorist in the world who committed one of the worst terror attacks in history. So forgive me, but that is a ludicrous statement to try and pretend that somehow this was American intelligence who was sort of
Pierce, maybe we should not trust assumptions here. October 7th happened. That doesn't prove Mossad is the worst intelligence in the world. 9/11 happened. That doesn't prove CIA is the worst intelligence
well,
in
it
the world.
proves they massively dropped the ball, and this proves
If
that.
you do,
and I'm afraid the fact that
they did.
well, you don't
I'm
dispute.
not
You don't
afraid to
dispute.
admit
Listen,
that we dropped the
Shazad,
ball
you
on
don't
Osama
dispute
bin Laden,
Osama
Pierce.
bin Laden was living literally down the road from one of your biggest bases,
I
right?
absolutely accept the intelligence failure. But the American intelligence itself, in terms of the 470,000 declassified
And do you not think it
documents
stretches
that America has
credibility,
released,
Shazad? Does it not
shows
stretch
that Pakistani
credibility?
intelligence was not involved in
But
harboring
Shazad, does
Osama
it
bin
not
Laden?
stretch credibility that nobody knew in your biggest intelligence operation at that base? Nobody knew he was living next door.
I think the context of that is that Pakistan was fighting a war on terror on multiple fronts while it was happening. I admit that.
Well, that
our
wasn't my
intelligence
question.
dropped the ball on that one. That does not mean Pakistan supporting terrorism. What about Barka Dutt, who was close to calling the
No, but the
who
reason
ran
it's
away
relevant,
from
Shazad,
BJP
the reason...
mob?
Hang on.
Barka Dutt
Shazad,
ran
let me
away
ask you a
to
question.
save herself from a
Shazad,
BJP
the
mob.
reason...
If you would allow,
hang on one second,
also.
Ravi. The reason it's relevant, the question, is because India's big complaint about what has happened in Pakistan in the last 20 odd, maybe more years, is that Pakistan has been knowingly harbouring terrorists who commit terrorist actions. That is the big complaint which India has against Pakistan. And when you try and pretend, and it's not the word for it, because you can't actually believe this, that somehow nobody knew at this massive military base, and none of the intelligence people that worked there had any idea that the most wanted man on planet Earth, possibly ever, was literally living in a big house at the end of their road, it stretches credibility. And I just refuse to believe it. So we've got to start with a basic acceptance of reality, right? There were certainly some
Doesn't matter
people
what you
who
believe in.
knew, and
I'm
they did
quoting
not blow
documents.
the whistle because they were happy for this wanted man to remain unfound. So I think that's why India has such a tension about this, because they think, well, look what happened with bin Laden. It's happening again with this group now. They're allowed to commit these terror acts with impunity. And there are people in Pakistan who clearly are not bothered about that, or they would do something to stop it.
Pierre,
Well, hang on. I want to give Shazad the chance to. I want to give Shazad the chance to respond to that. Shazad.
Pierce, either we can say what we believe in, what sounds credible to us, or we can actually go through the documents. Anybody watching is welcome to read the book, which cites declassified American documents, which clearly show that Osama was hiding from the Pakistani intelligence. I'm willing to concede the fact that the Pakistani intelligence dropped the ball. It may also be that some rogue intelligence officers may have been involved, but without any concrete evidence that the state of Pakistan is implicated in harboring Osama, how can we come to that conclusion based on assumptions? It's the same as India blaming Pakistan for Pahalgam without providing a shred of evidence.
All right, hang on.
Canada, on the other hand,
hang
has
on.
provided
Hang on.
evidence. So if
Hang on,
Canada
let me
was
ask
to bomb
Hina.
India,
I want to
would
ask.
Ranveer
All
and
right,
Barka
Shazad, hang on.
celebrate that?
I want to ask Hina the same question. I mean, Hina, do you not understand how ridiculous it sounds when we're expected to believe that absolutely nobody in American military, in Pakistan military or intelligence had any idea that bin Laden was living next to that base for years?
Look, at that time, Pakistan was in active combat. We were, I was in the government at that time. We were fighting this war at many, many fronts. And it wasn't only Pakistani intelligence, but frankly speaking, global intelligence, which was in and around, because at that time, Afghanistan was very, very active. Pierre, I had really expected and hoped that we could have a discussion which was about the future of this region. Okay, I had really hoped that we could have a discussion about what holds for these 1/5 of humanity, which is currently hostage to an extremist, sort of mind-boggling, outside of the purview of, the theatrics are very unnerving to me. So if you can just pause your faces for a little bit, it would help.
Well, Hina, tell me how you see the future. Hina, how do you see the future?
We tend to be honest people, and we tend to want to correct some of the miscommunication. But I just want to say that in this time when India is galloping towards extremist thought process and really snuggling very close to making India, which was in India I respected, a secular India, a democratic India, an Nehruvian India, and Manmohan Singh India. I have sat in rooms where we have negotiated, talking about making Siachen a mountain of peace at the request of an Indian prime minister. And Pakistan and India had reached a new type of confidence where we were able to speak to each other, share intelligence, and talk about how to move forward. And then comes this new government in India. And even at that time, I remember I was asked this question by an Indian, Karan Thapar, that how would you recommend Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif proceed when Prime Minister Modi, who had the reputation of the Gujarat killer as chief minister, which denied him entry into the United States of America. That is not a concocted narrative shaping I'm doing. That's just a fact I'm quoting, which is present in history books. Now, even at that time, Piers, I do want to emphasize, I maintain that we must view Prime Minister Modi in his new role as Prime Minister, and learning from and getting confidence from Prime Minister Vajpayee and him, despite being BJP and whatever was associated with it, became literally a seeker of peace and made all effort, because that is the legacy that he was seeking. Now, in my 10 years or so of looking at things very, very minutely and being literally a peace monger, okay, and I used to call myself an indefatigable peace fanatic when it came to India and Pakistan, because I see that we're holding the future together. And, you know, the revenge of geography, you cannot hope to burn your neighbor and prosper endlessly.
All right.
Look at the European Union. I just
okay.
want to say that I think going forward, if we have the intention of seeking a legacy of peace, mutual coexistence, and accepting the strengths that exist. Pakistan is a nuclear state country which has just established our, I would say, conventional supremacy by way of sheer facts, not narrative shaping, sheer facts in the military theater. There's going to be a lot of rewriting of the hegemonic role that was given to a certain country. We don't want that for India. India is more than welcome to continue with that hegemonic role. As far
I want
as
to bring in the others.
Think it is at peace to display that by attacking our civilians just because and going outside of international law.
Okay.
And Pierre, my last comment, please allow me this last comment, and then you're more than welcome to go anywhere else.
This is disproportionate space by
I just wanted to highlight one thing, that there is this thing called international law. We are all signatories of the UN Charter. Article 25 obliges all countries to go by Security Council resolutions. Article 51 gives a country the right to retaliate in an act of war. Now, everybody can just answer one question. When one nuclear state decides that it will be the judge, jury, executor, and decides that this particular security lapse is because of another country, and decides to launch missile strikes, 9 of them, killing civilians into the other country, is that nuclear state, which also has conventional,
okay, well, let me put that question.
Which it has displayed very well, supposed to sit tight and wait for other missile strikes to come.
Okay,
well,
let me.
I don't want the theatrics. I have never been a player of theatrics.
All right, Hina, I'm going to put it to the other people.
With India.
Ranveer, I mean, it's an interesting point, isn't it? India was working on very quick assumptions that the state of Pakistan, that the leadership who are running the country were fully aware of what this group were doing and therefore were complicit in what they did in this terrorist attack and had allowed this to happen de facto. This has been vehemently denied by the people at the top in Pakistan. And yet, India, as Hina said, India then moved to kind of DEFCON 3 war mode very quickly based on a set of assumptions which have been denied. Would it not have been more prudent for, as she says, for the international courts to be involved?
Piers, I think one needs to study the history of terrorist attacks in Pakistan, identify each of them, right from the late 2000s, when we had Ajmal Kasab, who was a part of the Mumbai terror attacks, who was caught. Pakistan denied having anything to do with the attacks, and his origin points were in Pakistan. We tried solving things diplomatically at that time. Since Uri, since Balakot, we've always tried only retaliating. We're never the aggressors. The objective view here is that every time you're asking Barkha or myself a question here, we're objectively answering. But our two Pakistanis on the panel are constantly deflecting, because this is the nature of Pakistani narrative. They'll never answer the questions directly. So if you're asking me if we reacted too much, my question is, how would you feel if this attack had happened in the UK, Piers? If 26 unarmed civilians were killed in cold blood and your intelligence found out that their roots, the camps they were trained in were in your neighboring country. How would you want your country to react? Because I've grown up in an India in the 90s, the 2000s to 2010s, where there was constantly a terror threat. And in each one of those cases, it was the Jaish-e-Mohammed or the Lashkar-e-Taiba or another body that was found in Pakistan. The proof is in the pudding. The proof is available for the world to see. We're a flourishing country today. We have more Muslims here who are flourishing in their careers than all of the Muslims in Pakistan. The Muslim population of India is larger than the Muslim population in Pakistan. We've constantly spoken about success stories that come out of India. We just want to go about our work. We want to keep our citizens safe. But what I can promise you is that if unarmed civilians get targeted, we have one of the most capable militaries in the world. And the first strike, Operation Sindoor, was simply targeted at terrorist bases. These are well-known UN-designated terrorist bases. That's all that was targeted. Pakistan retaliated by attacking the LOC and harming civilians as well as
let me allow Shahzad to respond, and then I'm going to go to Barker for the final word. So Shahzad, your response.
Unlike Ranveer, we don't live in a world of assumptions. I didn't think this was bring your child to school day, so I didn't bring any pictures. There was a 7-year-old child sleeping at his home, Irtaza Abbas Turi, who was at his home, and India claims that the 7-year-old child was at the terrorist camp that we killed. There is ample evidence that India targeted civilians. In terms of Ranveer's narrative, I'm not surprised that he's doing that. He's not even free to post a story and delete it. He was dragged through the Supreme Court of India for telling a sex joke. So if he's trying to bring his far-right audience back, he's welcome to shout these lies. All right, Ranveer, let's list this down. 2006, Magalan bombings, an Islamist student organization was blamed. As you're aware, you're representing India around the world. Who turned out to be the terrorist in that case? And do you know? It was Abhinav Bharat. The RSS, who's the ideological mentor to BJP, whose people you've hosted, whose people have been accused of gang raping Bilkis Banu.
No. This is the narrative you're fed, my brother.
By your Indian government. All right. Anybody is welcome to Google all the things that I'm saying. Samjhauta Express, RSS claimed responsibility for that. Ajmer Dargah, RSS claimed responsibility for that. It's that entire narrative that's only terrorism when a man with a beard does it. Anybody who's watching is welcome to Google this. Barka Dutt is again trying to bring back her far-right audience. Barka Dutt, 15 years ago, was accusing the BJP of targeting Muslims in Gujarat. Did you or did you not, Barka, run away from a BJP mob? Did you not climb the water pipe to escape them who were trying to kill you?
I think we're moving slightly off topic here, if I don't mind me saying. Listen,
who's deflecting here?
These are the people who said we deflect. Barka, it's a simple question. Did you run away from a BJP mob trying to kill you? And did you escape through climbing a water pipe with your journalist?
I am not here.
I hope the world knows
Can we get it back on topic, please? Can we get it back to where we are with India and Pakistan?
Only terrorism when a Muslim does it.
Barker, how does this get resolved? How do we resolve this ongoing issue of Kashmir?
Yeah, I'm going to ignore Shehzad's infantile comments and focus on what I want to say. It doesn't matter whether you in Pakistan like or don't. Can I speak, please? It doesn't matter whether you like or don't like Prime Minister Modi. He is an elected Prime Minister of India in his 3rd term, unlike the Prime Ministers of Pakistan who are appointed by the army, jailed or exiled. Your country is in turmoil because you have jailed Imran Khan. Nawaz Sharif and Shehbaz Sharif, his brother, who's the present Prime Minister, is an appointee of the army. Before that,
we have to listen to Barka's version of Pakistan's internal politics. Is that the purpose of this?
You commented, ma'am, you commented on my country's internal politics. I am responding.
I commented on the Gujarat.
I am responding,
and I would be very
Let's talk about Khaja
to be corrected on that.
There's your defense minister. You know what your defense minister said on television? Yes, we did support.
I told you I'm not a journalist. I don't have
Ma'am, you're interrupting me. Ma'am, I did not interrupt you. Grant me the same civility. I did not interrupt.
Please go ahead.
Khwaja Asif, whose picture Ranveer held up, said in an interview to Sky News that indeed Pakistan had used terrorism as to do the dirty job. I guess Hina couldn't tolerate the truth. Maybe she just left. Khwaja Asif said on Sky News that Pakistan used to do the dirty job for other countries by using terrorism as an instrument of state policy. Bilawal Bhutto said on the same channel, indeed, Pakistan has a past. Through this entire conversation, neither Pakistani has answered, are the Lashkar and the Jaish terror groups or not? And if they are, why are they allowed to function openly in Muriki and Bahawalpur, where Indian action was taken against terror bases and terror bases alone? And a last point, Prime Minister Modi did try dialogue with Pakistan. He went to visit Nawaz Sharif in his home in Lahore. He invited Nawaz Sharif when he was sworn in as Prime Minister the first time. All of that came to naught because Pakistan's entire existence seems to be to conduct a proxy war against India. India would love to ignore Pakistan. India wants nothing Pakistan has. If Pakistan would stop inflicting terrorism on our country, we would be quite happy to never engage with them ever again.
Let's leave it there.
Do we get to respond?
I appreciate you all joining us. Hina appears to have left the building. Sorry that she felt the need to leave early.
As tensions rise between India and Pakistan, accusations of terrorism fuel the flames of conflict. Each side claims victory, yet the underlying issues remain unresolved. The narratives spun by both countries reflect a complex web of power, hypocrisy, and economic interests. In a world where truth is often blurred, it's vital to seek clarity and understanding.